It is crypto versus a peace deal. Today, we're going to be breaking that down because there's a lot in the market that could be affecting everything we're looking at. Before we get into it, I do want to thank our sponsor, and this is a special offer for you guys. OKX is running an exclusive affiliate offer where you can earn up to $500 in XRP rewards just by hitting a few simple milestones. Step 1, Tier 1, you can complete the KYC. You get $10 in XRP. If you go to step 2, which is $100 on a deposit, you get another $40. Then you can bump that deposit and trade volume of just $1,000 and you grab an additional $100 in XRP. Best of all, for the heavy hitters out there, if you deposit and trade 10 grand, you can unlock a massive $350 XRP reward. This stacks onto all of this. So boom, you get up to $500 max earning, and it's paid directly out in XRP. So click the link down below. You guys are not going to miss this one. It is an awesome one. All right, guys, I want to lead off today with a tweet. And of course, what I'm looking at right here is, of course, President Trump saying that negotiations with Iran will only be a great deal if it's a great deal for everyone. And as you can kind of see right here on Truth Social, absolutely filled it up with everybody that's involved in this deal. So there is a lot yet to be done. The concern I have right now is whether or not we actually get out of this war as soon as we can, or does this stretch on for months and months of negotiations, continuing to see the Hormuz Strait closed? And what does that mean? Let's jump over to Trump holding a rare cabinet meeting. And this, of course, is going on in Camp David this Wednesday. If you look at this around the tensions that are rising within Iran and the fact that they are holding this cabinet meeting, this is crunch time. This, I think, is going to get down to either what are they going to accept, what are they not going to accept. And all of this starts to point to two major markets. One, of course, is going to continue to be, how does this end? If you look at Polymarket, Polymarket has this on the December outlook at a 81% chance. Back here not too long ago, just on May 22nd, just a few days ago, it was at a 62% chance by December. This is my point. This could end up dragging on through summer and possibly even on and past the midterms. This would have some pretty, I think, gargantuan effect on crypto in general. And this is the thing. Right now, the major markets, if we're seeing that war is bad for Bitcoin, it seems that peace could be bad for Bitcoin as well, because we're not necessarily seeing the markets respond, even though we're seeing a potential of a peace deal underway. Other things right now, the market is responding. You've got the S&P 500 rising to its highest level on record right there, now on track for its first 9-week win streak. This is huge because it hasn't happened since 2023. I would like to know from you guys, drop some comments down below. Are you shifting your investment thesis at all? With this kind of run up, I mean, this is almost meme coin style growth that we're seeing in traditional markets. Are you placing any bets on traditional stocks, or at least on maybe the tokenized version within crypto? Let me know down in the comments. Other things you got to look at right now is oil prices. Oil prices continue to be an issue. But the real question was, if oil was going to go down, and a peace deal is underway, would that not mean that that's good for crypto? According to the charts right now, if you just look at oil, where it is holding at around 94, remember, oil had clipped 115 as far back as April 7th. That's just a couple of months ago, 1 month ago. If you look at this, trending down, and if you look at all the other crypto products, as we start to see these peace deals, one of the biggest days right now hitting Bitcoin. This is another factor. Ethereum not necessarily holding up either, having a big day. Even XRP also slipping in and back down to the 130 mark. So this is not necessarily a positive for crypto in general. I think the real question is the macro environment that continues to cause pressure on these risk markets is got to change. I want to go to a clip because this is getting into how Iran is growing stronger the longer we don't have a deal. Take a look.
Every day that goes by, Iran's negotiating leverage compounds. Why? Because inventories of oil and inventories continue to drop. Last week alone, you dropped inventories by 17 million barrels. The clock ticks on. The situation for Iran, their leveraging power compounds, while for the West, it decreases. We can come up with these different types of policy announcements that try to solve it, but the only thing that's going to solve it is more molecules. And ultimately, the real thing is open the straits. But that's still, even if you announced it tomorrow, 6 more months before you really solve the problem.
The real question is how long does this supply chain shock exist? And I think no one at least has a timeline that I've seen. So the real question is, when this deal gets done, how long before we start to see full and free flow of energy back into the West? Remember that the U.S. is not necessarily involved in that, even though you do have situations rising in Asia, obviously in the EU. I think the real question is how long? Because if that does take 6 months, that could have some lasting effects on the market in general. There's also a big situation that could end up killing the Iranian deal, and it's a wild card you may not know. Take a look.
If the Israelis are not reined in by the United States, there will not be a deal. Last time, there was supposed to be a region-wide ceasefire, and we saw what the Israelis have done. They're continuing to bombard Lebanon to smithers, and we've seen how they have treated the ceasefire in Gaza as well. If the United States is incapable of reining in the Israelis, then I think that will put a significant amount of stress on this agreement. The agreement may not even be able to be reached in the first place.
All right, so there you have it. The Israelis still continuing to kind of hold the ace card. And I think the real question here is Trump is going to have to draw the line at some point. I know that a lot of this is all pent up on what kind of deal is made with the Iranians. But I think at one point, you're probably going to have the Israelis coming to the table as well on the negotiation factor. And I think there'll be enough pressure from EU, from Asia, and maybe even from China that could put a little bit of twist on this going forward. The reason all of this is important, when you look at oil prices, you look at the macro environment, you look at the S&P on all-time highs, and then you look at how crypto is responding. Right now, we're setting on a 60% chance. And let's just remember that the War Powers Act, which was on the table last week, got thrown off because they thought there was going to be a deal. What happens if that spins back into it at the wrong time? Because remember, timing here is super, super important. We're holding a 60% chance right now, which is up from just the other day at 54%. So you would think maybe there's some negotiations happening in between all of this in terms of what's going on in Iran, what's happening in the macro side of things. All of this has pressure that is loading in on top of crypto. And I think that's why we are not seeing crypto move. One of the biggest bulls on crypto that has always been a bull has been Mike Novogratz of Galaxy Digital. He was on talking about this, and I want you to tell me if you think he sounds bullish. Take a look.
But, the bull case is you get a deal, oil goes back down into the 80s.
The back end oil will get to the 60s.
Okay, so, that gives our friend Kevin Warsh some amplitude, right, to cut rates.
The moment that happens, Warsh is starting to change his tune, and by the end of the year, he's cutting rates, not just fighting off people who want to hike. That could be the last juice that this market needs to have it rip your face off.
Bitcoin reclaims 85,000 before the end of June.
That would be wildly bullish.
Do you think that will happen?
Oh, I see. I think that's right around where clarity should be decided. I think I would, if you move that to the middle of July, I'd be bullish.
Okay.
All right, middle of July. He's pending on Bitcoin going back to 85, strictly to clarity. I think there's more to it than just that. I think you have the whole mix of everything. You've got to have the Iranian deal. You've got to have a little bit of pressure off the markets in general, where Warsh might have a window later this year. Notice he thought a rate cut by end of year. So FOMC meetings, I don't know if we're going to see any more like we did with Powell, but if we do, it'll be interesting to see how Kevin Warsh deals with the forward-looking statements. It's going to be intriguing. So be on the look at that. A couple of other things you got to look at is the calendar. Right here is the Congress second session. You look at the month of May right there. Here we are on the week of the 25th. This is closed right now. So you are out on a chance right there. You move into early June, there's a possibility, but it goes back to the whole situation. We don't want to bog down this June calendar with a lot of stuff. That's the point we have a chance to get into the Senate, hopefully, and get this done. July starts to run really a risk because August, look at August. Almost the entire month of August is pretty much toast. And then you move in to preparation for midterms in September. This is a concern that I have. I know a lot of people have come on the show, handful of analysts that have said it could happen even as late as September. I think that has pretty traumatic effects on the market in general. Other things that may have an effect is the continuation of negotiations. And what I mean by that is all of these senators negotiating special deals during this clarity because Trump, and they know that Trump wants this through. So they're throwing out everything. Here's a little bit of an insight on Thom Thillis and how he may go at Pete Hegseth. Take a look.
Hegseth owns it by being Secretary of Defense. When you tell the president that you have obliterated Iran and you're in a position to pretty much dictate terms, and now you see what we have, when you see these mistakes made by Hegseth, I think with all these mistakes in total, it's beginning to make Kristi Noem look like a five-star recruit. And anybody that gets in the way of my colleagues, Republican colleagues, getting reelected are a problem.
All right, so basically you got Tillis going after anyone that potentially risks them getting reelected. And Hegseth is his new bullseye, along with some of the things that we're seeing in some of these other primaries. Texas is an example right here. The primary runoffs, we all know what's going on there. You've got Ken Paxton, who's been supported by the Fellowship PAC and also the Tetherback Fellowship PAC. But I think we're going to see more of this moving into the situation around midterms, especially. I'm curious how many senators, and right now it's mostly the Senate, which is at risk. I wonder how many senators are truly going to get run against that don't let clarity go through. Remember, this gets very interesting on timing because you could get a lot of money going against anyone who stands up against clarity by end of maybe July. I think that might be the number. So be looking at it. It's going to be very interesting right now. A lot of money being spent on these runs. You also have the SEC delaying a plan to allow blockchain-based tokenized stocks. This came last Friday. We didn't report on it, but the key is it starts to have some effect, I think, on the rest of the market. One point in note, and it's worth noting, is this right here, is that the founder of ONDO was mysteriously found dead, I guess, or unexpected passing. So very interesting situation. I mean, this is a 30-year-old guy, head of ONDO, one of the biggest tokenized asset platforms out there. Interesting timing here, guys. Not saying anything, just saying interesting timing. All right, so as you see right there by the SEC, this is slowing the entire market. You look at ONDO, you look at some of the RWA platforms out there, and remember, this was all in place, and then all of a sudden we get the rug pull. These are the kind of markets that are at risk right now. This is a forecast right here projecting 100x growth in tokenized assets by 2030. The big names on this, McKinsey, Citi, Ripple, ARK Invest, even Standard Chartered. So interesting timing that all of this is happening. But when will the SEC actually loosen this up so we can get X stocks, so we can get ONDO and be able to trade what we are talking, what they have been promising for quite some time? Interesting time that the SEC does this right now, just as we're getting ready to roll into a new future. Robinhood has also cleared the final regulatory approval for its $180 million acquisition of WonderFi. Remember, this is Kevin O'Leary's company in Canada. They are piecing together a very strategic position to counter what's going on with Coinbase. I think they are coming hard for Coinbase, and this is just another asset that kind of adds to their roster. All right, so you've got Robinhood, who's kind of stuck in limbo. We're waiting on all this to clarify and get regulatory alignment. Then you've got this happening in Hong Kong, where the SFC is now saying, hey, we're going to get you licensed crypto advisory and asset management services. All of this is going to be in place as a law by the end of 2026, this year, guys. So Hong Kong is at a full race to try to get this done. It looks like they are going to get it done, which this is coming in from the Securities and Futures Commission in Hong Kong. So big news overall. If you look at Bitcoin right now, it has been the first time we have seen a 2-year situation. And that's what's brewing right now. Down 6% in 25, 13% right there year to date here in 2026. First time we're really seeing back-to-back years. Is Bitcoin fading as the asset going forward? Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. If you would be going Bitcoin, Ethereum, Hype, Solana, Ripple, any of those. Hit me in the comments. One of the major concerns that you should be looking at right now, especially related to Bitcoin, is going to be MetaPlanet. You look at their NAV right now, which has slipped under NAV again. Last time that happened really wasn't, it was right back here. Yeah, November 27th. So very interesting timing right now in Bitcoin. Not good for the market in general. This would be a big deal if MetaPlanet got any kind of sideways issues with Bitcoin, because I think that's the question that a lot of institutional investors are asking. Right here was kind of interesting. MetaPlanet's latest shareholder benefits basically gave you discounts on Bitcoin magazine subscriptions and the conference. I think a lot of people are frustrated around this, especially around Japanese social media. Just to distribute Bitcoin, just do it. Just distribute in Bitcoin. Everybody's going to be happy. I don't need discounts on this or that. And I agree with that. This should be exactly what it has always been, which is distribution of Bitcoin, the asset. So interesting points right now. Remember when everybody was pointing at M2, saying M2 is the indicator that drives liquidity into the crypto and the risk asset market? Well, here you have it. This is the Fred right here. M2 is as high as it has ever been, well above back in 22 when we had clipped. We slipped down in 23, and it has been skyrocketing since then, but yet we are not seeing the skyrocketing approach toward risk assets. So is M2 one of the big things that I think a lot of people were pushing to? Definitely not necessarily the case for risk assets. Again, macro environments, consumer and investor sentiment, and obviously the situations on the geopolitical field are the issues. It appears that we have to have so many things that go right to get into the risk markets accelerating. If you look at where the government is spending money, you have to look at AI. And these numbers are crazy. In fact, they are spending more money on AI and this kind of tech than anywhere else in the market, which is why you are seeing the kind of numbers that you are seeing right now on the major stock exchanges. And of course, some of the major companies out there, anything that is within that AI realm, this is the kind of numbers that we're starting to push to. And I think this is a big factor here because it's not crypto oriented, at least not yet. Maybe in the future we get some sort of agentic connection to AI. But right now, it is all about these primary stock products and a lot of these new IPOs coming to market that I think will take advantage of this. If you look quickly at the market, as we did just a little bit ago, there's Bitcoin on another major red day. This is a critical day for Bitcoin. ETH could clip and go below again the situation of under 2,000. So right there was that dip we saw over the weekend. But I'm just wondering, do we see a $1,700 ETH like some analysts are pointing at? Let me know what you guys think. Do you think this is a sell and may go away and finish up, or do you think we continue to see downward pressure throughout the summer? We're going to be covering this and a lot more, so stick around. If you like this video, hit like and subscribe, drop a comment down below, and also join our free private member group. The link is in the description.